Oh. Oh, that's what she said. Okay, so
And with that,
you can't go wrong with that's what she said at the beginning of the tape video or whatever you want to call it.
it's a video.
Yeah, it's taped. We're not
Okay.
doing this live.
So,
Speaking of live, I went to a live wrestling show this week. Completely unexpected. Won tickets off the television, thanks to the Morning Blend in Tucson for their tickets.
Not to mention your wife.
And my wife, who was at home watching at the time, I was actually sitting on my ass at my desk at work. Unbeknownst to me, I had wound up.
You should stop
winning
doing that.
tickets.
I don't think it's good
Yeah,
for you.
I know. I should sit at home and watch the Morning Blend.
Yeah.
And do, much better things like go to wrestling shows. So, many thanks to my wife, who doesn't like wrestling, first off, for putting up with going to her second wrestling show in a year. But yeah, so it was a Smackdown TV taping here in Tucson at the Tucson Convention Center. I actually wasn't even aware it was a TV taping because I had told myself, if it ain't TV, I ain't going. I've been to a house show. They're lame. None of the excitement of the television tapings, but TV tapings have my interest because I love the production side of things. I love seeing how things are actually made and done. And yeah, we found it was a TV taping, so I got to see NXT, Superstars, and Smackdown all taped right there at the Tucson Convention Center. We had great seats, had a good time. But there was a lot of stuff I drew from the show because I actually haven't watched a whole episode. It was interesting. I actually watched like half of SmackDown from the week before, and I hadn't watched any SmackDown in like 6 months. I watched an entire episode of SmackDown basically for the first time in 6 months or so. Right around WrestleMania, so maybe not 6 months, 3-4 months was the last time I was watching wrestling, and that was just to get the build for Mania. And so there was a lot of stuff I drew from the show, because kind of walking away from it and coming back, it's kind of interesting sometimes when you do that, what you pull out of it. But first off, NXT. Now, I sent you a very sarcastic text at the beginning. The best part of these tickets is being at the show. The worst part, I have to sit through NXT first. But I was actually very impressed with the talent in NXT right now. I don't really like the premise of the show. It's contrived.
NXT Redemption.
It's NXT Redemption. I didn't even know that until, because I don't follow NXT at all, quite frankly. I haven't since season 2. Once they started invading every show with each wave of NXT people, I gave up on it. And they stopped doing that after I gave up, but I don't care anymore.
Wasn't like season 3 was online and season 4 was the women or something like that?
Season 3 was on TV. Season 4 was online with the women.
Who won season 3?
Was season 3 women? See, that's how much I care about NXT. I don't even know. And it's not my job to know. It's their job to tell me why it's interesting. But I was very impressed with the talent. Right now, the final 3 in NXT are Darren Young, Titus O'Neil, and Derek Bateman. And I'm familiar with the first 2. Bateman, not very familiar with. Don't even get me started on that. The crowd is way into Titus O'Neil, and I having not followed NXT, didn't understand why, to be quite frank.
He's a former Jaguar. You should be all in love with him.
But he's not like a great wrestler. Now, I do want to say this. He's a good wrestler now.
Okay.
He's come a long way. I enjoyed his work. Average match. And no offense to the wrestlers in the actual match, but it was just, an average run-of-the-mill match. It was an NXT match.
Yeah.
But I liked the work of Young and O'Neil, and I was very impressed with Derek Bateman. This was my first time actually seeing him. I've never watched him
I
wrestle.
heard of him before you told me.
Honestly, I heard his name, but I didn't know anything about him. And he was fantastic on the mic. The character they've given him is very intriguing. He's fun to listen to. He's kind of playing this kind of a brash young superstar type guy who at the same time is very aware of social media and pop culture and made some references to pop culture, and that was very interesting. And Daniel Bryan is his coach, and he's been inserted into the show shockingly. With 2 people left, they shockingly add another one.
The only other one.
Yeah. and it played off really well with their match. I enjoyed it. And that's walking away from it. I was like, I'm actually interested in these NXT guys after seeing them live.
Yeah, well, that's good. If you're interested in seeing them again, the show's done its job, right?
Exactly. And that's the way I felt out. I was like, well, NXT did its job. And then Superstars, there were 2 matches we got to see for Superstars, the Superstars taping. Yoshitatsu versus Tyson Kidd, which was a cruiserweight match. There was nothing more, nothing less. Typical WWE cruiserweight match in that they don't really get to showcase all of their talents. Yoshitatsu kicks too much, as far as I'm concerned. They're way too focused on his, his
educated feet.
His educated. That's what I was looking for. Tyson Kidd is an excellent seller. I really enjoy when he gets his ass kicked because he does such a good job of selling it. But his offense is nothing, out of this world.
My key. I mean, sorry.
So yeah, it was serviceable at best. Typical superstars match. Then we had a women's match: Natalya and Alicia Fox. Alicia Fox is actually way better than I give her credit for, to be honest. She's come a long way.
Credit for anything.
That's fair enough. From what you've seen, you don't have anything to really base that off of. Having seen her live now and watched a couple of her matches back when I was trying to watch all of this stuff regularly 3-4 months ago, she's come a long way, and I appreciate her work.
I will say that Alicia Fox plays a good heel.
Yes,
I do
yes,
like
and that's
her.
where she's at right now.
Yeah, so.
And Natalya is always fun. So superstars, And then SmackDown started, and the crowd was really hot here for guys like Sin Cara and Kane and Randy Orton. He's the champ right now. He's way over with the audience right now, and that was really interesting to see how the live. You really don't understand how the fans are reacting to these people until you put yourself in that building and really feel it. There was a chick sitting to my left. Who practically slept through most of the taping. She was completely did that through most of the taping. And when Randy Orton came out, she was suddenly the loudest person in our row. She was, and it wasn't just because Randy's cute or whatever. It was because she wanted Randy to kick someone's ass.
Don't we all? I love watching Randy Orton beat the shit out of people. It's
being, more into wrestling because of the sociological, psychological, and economic business, all that stuff. Not because I like watching sweaty dudes roll around in a ring, or because I like watching guys beat each other up.
That's not why you.
Oh,
nothing.
No,
No,
this is awkward.
that
for me, that's what's interesting. I love being a part of that and seeing that happen. When you go to a wrestling show, you want to be a part of it. I was chanting Randy, just like everybody else was. I'm
an old time Randy Orton fan. I remember cheering for Randy Orton back during his original face turn, his first, not his original face turn, but I'm watching then too, so cheering him then. Yeah, I like Randy.
Well, I started cheering for him when he was doing his medical updates.
Yeah, no, I like
during his injury angle when he had the arm in a sling.
Yeah.
But so that was fun and interesting to be a part of. But there were some good things. I'll just start with that. There were some great things that I drew from the show being there live. Christian is phenomenal. He captures an audience. The audience booed him because he's supposed to be a bad guy now, and for the most part, most of the fans in the building did as they were told. I sat there like a Japanese wrestling fan. I was like this.
Oh, really?
Most of the show, I'm observing. Good match. Jolly good.
That'd be a British wrestling fan.
Fact. Japanese people talk like that, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jolly good.
Yeah, you can ask your British friend.
Very good, Governor. My British friend.
Governor? Wow, we are going way off the old mix.
One bloody good match, man. Bloody good match.
And William Regal was on commentary.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was like, hey, William Regal! No, he's just kind of sitting there.
No one else knows who he is.
I'm going to do an audio track later this week. So I'm just going to sit here and look like I'm talking. Michael Cole, by the way, looked the least interested in what was going on of anybody in the building. He was like in his chair just rocking. And
I'm sure he got a huge pop from the coal miners.
Huge boo! He was just as booed as Mark Henry or anybody.
Mark Henry, is he on that?
Yes, he is.
Right.
Well, why they had an interview backstage? Why did you start doing these dastardly things? And his response was, I think it's appropriate that there's a cricket in the background because that's pretty much what I heard. He doesn't do promos apparently. He just gets angry. We'll save that for later. But yeah, Christian, phenomenal, captures an audience really well.
Yeah, Christian,
Cody Rhodes is hilarious.
I like Cody Rhodes.
As this disfigured, dismembered, just deranged character. They had the start of the show was all of the Money in the Bank participants hanging out in the ring to cut some promos and discuss the match coming up and what it's done to people's careers. Daniel Bryan kicked things off, talking about what this match did to people like Edge, who are now no longer wrestling, and playing up the importance of the match and also the dangers that come with the match. And he did a great job on the mic with that. And then you get to Cody Rhodes, and he's like talking all like he's got some sort of disease now too. Like he's just mentally not all there. He reminded me a lot of like Phantom of the Opera all of a sudden. But he does it really well, and it's kind of surprising out of Cody Rhodes. This is the same Cody Rhodes that had like no gimmick and was tag champ, 2-3 years ago. He's really ran with this, and considering who his dad is, you can go both ways with that too.
I like Cody. I like Cody a lot. I mean, Cody Rhodes was the maybe not the only good thing singular, but one of the only good things, and probably the best thing for me about WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
WrestleMania 27. I mean,
absolutely.
I thought he was the best act on the show. That's not saying much for the rest of the show, but I thought he's a great act. I mean, I can't imagine how Dustin's feeling right now, but
whoops. Well, for a time, Dustin was just as over when Goldust first debuted. So give him credit where credit is due. But Cody totally had me entertained. I love his gimmick. I hope they continue. I actually kind of want him to win Money in the Bank. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that would be pretty cool. I've
read some opinions online. Some people think he is. I mean, looking at the other guys they've gotten it. I mean, they're not going to give it to Kane again, probably.
No.
Barrett, maybe. Barrett's probably the most likely. Maybe Sheamus, but Sheamus doesn't really need it. I mean,
Sheamus,
like
Sheamus has pretty much inserted himself in the world title picture regardless of Money in the Bank, so he's probably there more to play up the star power, quote unquote, of the match for SmackDown's Raw.
Yeah, he doesn't really need it. And, you get Slater and Gabriel, I don't think either of them are going to do it.
No, Sin Cara's not going to win it.
Sin Cara not this year.
No position to be running for the title right now.
So I think Cody actually has a pretty decent shot at winning that match.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan's another guy I think has a legitimate shot.
He's in there too. Okay, well, I would love to see Bryan win it, but...
But yeah, I enjoyed his work.
Yeah, Cody's great.
I don't know, the matches are so hard to get into live now because the matches don't really tell a story like they used to. They all kind of play out the same A to B to C to D format. And my wife was even saying, I picked up on this within the first 3 months of dating you, how wrestling matches actually work out because they become so formulaic. And when you're there live, you still see it that way. It's more entertaining because you're getting to see it in person. That's cool. But you're still seeing matches that don't really tell you anything or give you anything. And there's no more drawn from it because you're live, to be honest.
Well, I mean, looking back on what we know about some of the great performers, I would say one issue is that a lot of these guys that coming into WWE, the people that were in Nexus, somebody like Wade Barrett or Sheamus or Ezekiel Jackson, or these guys don't get the chance. These guys don't go through Japan. They don't go wrestling.
Yeah, this is stuff we got from MVP and Lagana in their podcast.
Yeah, I mean these guys don't. They are working the WWE system. We were talking about this earlier. You got the WWE system of matches, and that's what these guys know how to do.
Well,
and the problem is it all becomes homogenous. It all becomes the same.
That's what it felt like watching it. Because I actually got to see Tyson Kidd wrestle twice. I got to see Daniel Bryan wrestle twice. And they basically wrestled the same match. And I marked out big for Daniel Bryan. I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson all the way, But he basically wrestled the same match. And that's
wrestler in the world.
He is, as far as I'm concerned. But it's not his fault that the matches, didn't do anything different from the previous one. It's the way that they're being told to wrestle and told to, do things. And So that, it just was a major reminder of why I'm not watching SmackDown regularly, why I stick to the results instead of investing 2 hours in the show, is because that's really, what I got was a bunch of homogenous matches that, and there was a lot of stuff too that just felt like it just wasn't really going anywhere. But in getting to the two marquee matches from the show, Kane versus Mark Henry for the 428th time.
Good.
And they actually both work really well together. I think Henry, to his credit, and this will be the last time you hear me do this, he has improved.
Wow. That hurt?
It hurt to say it, but it's a fact that he has improved. Now, that doesn't mean he's great or good even, but him and Kane had a serviceable match, and they propelled whatever storyline was going on between them using that match. But at the end of the match, Mark Henry spit on Booker T. I don't really know where they're going with that because I'm not following, so, whatever.
On a related subject, I wanted to tell you earlier that apparently Trevor Murdoch's phone calls aren't being returned. They were going to bring it back in, but they've ditched him again, it seems. And he's saying he might be done with wrestling. So, anyway.
Well, I'll try.
My life is a shallow lie.
But it was just kind of there as a match, as the number 2 match on the card, and then the number 1 match, the final match, was Randy Orton versus Sheamus, non-title. Sheamus has actually improved to the point where I feel like he can carry out a full match now. One of our biggest criticisms of him from WrestleMania 26 was that he doesn't really do anything. He's just kind of there, and he's kind of boring.
Yeah.
And Triple H couldn't do anything to make him entertaining. Now I feel like his mic work has improved to the point where the character gets across as what it's supposed to be.
Is he a face or a heel right now?
He's a heel right now. He did lay out Christian, though, and he got a pop for that. But he's now at the point where, with Randy Orton's help in the main event, he put on a serviceable match. Now, the problem was the match didn't actually end with a winner or loser because Christian ran in. Because they're doing this, Christian's insisting. Basically, now the stipulation is Christian wins the title at the next pay-per-view, Money in the Bank, if Randy Orton gets disqualified or if the ref makes a bad call. Undefined. So it sounds to me like Christian's winning that belt one way or another.
Think so?
I think so.
Okay, well, that'd be cool. I mean, I know they got a lot of heat for taking him off it the day after he won it.
If I had to put money on it, honestly, I would go with my gut and say Orton retains. But I feel like they're playing it towards Christian is putting Orton in a corner, and we'll find a way.
Christian, if they have the sense to give it to him, Christian can be a really good foil to Orton, a really good heel world champion.
Fill the shoes of Edge. Sure. Quite honestly, of being the ultimate opportunist. The guy who will take the belt at any cost, no matter how ridiculous it sounds when he does it. As long as he's got that belt, his life is okay.
And everybody associates with him with Edge anyway, and that's WWE's own fault, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it works, especially since you'd be putting him in a position where, much like Edge, was a heel to other heels.
Yeah.
That works with Christian
Edge
versus
get along
Orton,
with anyone.
the face, and Sheamus, the heel, for the three of them.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other things I drew from the show is that the talent roster is so thin right now. First off, I saw 2 people wrestle twice. And then the 2 women came out and managed other women for their SmackDown match from the Superstars match. I got to see AJ take on Tamina in a terrible match.
I like AJ, though.
I love AJ. But it was a typical diva match. It went nowhere, did nothing, and solved nothing. Presented nothing. And yeah, so I just feel like the roster.
The Daniel Bryan matches, as far as how many matches they give him, they just have to remember that he's got till 5. Sorry, go ahead.
I would watch him wrestle 5 times a night, even if it's the same damn match. But I just feel like there was so little they could do with everybody. I didn't really feel like there was any element of surprise with what was going to happen because there was nobody to surprise you. The top 2 matches were the top 4 guys on the card, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the title picture goes, and they've got like nothing else to do with those guys. You know, the top 5 guys on SmackDown right now are Orton, Sheamus, Christian, Kane, and Henry, and that's all they got.
That's sad. I mean, that's lackluster. It's you know,
and
it's not much better over on Raw, is it? I mean,
and then right below that, you've got the mid card guys who've been kind of bouncing around there, like DiBiase and Rhodes and Bryan, and then you've got the NXT pool that has spilled itself all over the bottom of the card. And that's all you got.
And nobody's cleaning it up.
Nobody's cleaning it up because it's cheap to leave it that way, and you don't have to do anything with it.
I was telling you that I started playing EWR again, and I looked at the WWE roster because I got the current update, and I'm going, like, the number 1 heel in the company is The Miz? Really? Like, there's nobody...
That's where they're at right now. That's really where they're at right now. And that's kind of how I felt watching the show, is that things are thin. There's not a whole lot of surprises coming your way because there's not a whole lot they can really do with anybody. Yeah. Everything's pretty much out there in the open. Nobody really changes. Nobody really does anything different. And there's not a whole lot to surprise you anymore. And that was kind of disappointing.
With WWE in general right now.
Being at a live show, you kind of
barring certain recent occurrences that we've already discussed.
Yeah. Being at a live show, you kind of want that element of surprise and interest. The live show that we went to in Beaumont, Texas, had the cage match with Shane McMahon and the Spirit Squad. And Michaels had thrown the P on the McMahons. Right, yeah. And, that was all. There was all kind of surprises thrown in there, and you had
didn't really know what to expect.
This card I went to, the SmackDown card, no title matches on the card at all. The IC champ was in a tag match. The world title was presented in.
Is Kingston IC right now?
No, Ezekiel Jackson.
Oh.
No title matches on the card at all. So that was kind of disappointing. Not just because I'm greedy and I want to see a title match at my local show
that I go to,
but because the element of surprise and interest and prestige is not there. It just felt like it felt like it really had no purpose beyond that episode.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they boxed themselves, and I think that's why it's hurting their pay-per-views.
Storyline.
Yeah, no signs of anything really propelling or changing or being dynamic. Everybody did exactly what you expected them to do. So yeah, that was kind of what I drew from the show. Is that the product is in some ways intriguing. I like some of these NXT guys. I just don't really like the way they're being used or packaged or what they're actually doing with these guys. Johnny Curtis, the winner of season 4, he had a dark match at the show. He was pretty good. He then had a promo that was kind of lame. And I'm like, this guy's actually pretty good in the ring. Why do you have to write, these really lousy jokes? He's talking about, he was holding a cake, and he said that he was going to take the cake. Good one. Nobody talks that way anymore. Like, it's so lame. And my wife looked at me like, seriously? And that's those moments where you go, I'm sorry, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah, it's
don't make
it's
me
one
do
of those
that.
occurrences when somebody comes over and you're in the middle of a wrestling show and there's something stupid going on. They're like, "Oh, you're a wrestling fan," and I'm like, "No, you don't understand. I hate this part."
I hate to throw Ring of Honor under the bus. It's one of the few times you can actually do that. But I had 3 friends come over. They were walking their dogs, and they dropped by my apartment unannounced. And it was cool. I wanted to see my friends, let them in, and I wasn't going to stop my show. I watch wrestling when I'm hanging out by myself, so I'm not going to hide that. They know that.
Yeah.
Delirious was licking someone. And I just went, no, really, wrestling, I don't watch it for that. Honestly, I don't. And it's one of those things, and the WWE does this more and more, where you just kind of go, yeah, I like wrestling. I'm sorry. Like, stop making me feel bad about liking wrestling. That's what the CM Punk thing did, the opposite.
Yeah.
That made me go, yeah, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
watching bad puns and Hornswoggle during NXT was hitting on Maurice.
Just Hornswoggle, period.
And Titus O'Neil was calling him Swoggle. Which was
Swoggle.
He said that he's like Swoggle. Oh man. Oh my God. I'm not 5. Like, come on. You know, so it had those elements that still made you groan. But at the same time, that element of
it's
interest
okay
and
to have
intrigue
those
and
things
fun
because
is still there.
even though we're not 5, there are other people at the show who are. But I mean, it's like,
There are a lot, actually.
But you still have to can we not get all for them? Do they have to hog all of it? Can't we get some adult content?
I'm okay with the Santino Morella bit where he does the cobra to somebody backstage. I'm not okay with it being included in 2 matches on the card.
If I continue in this direction, I'll start talking about rating systems and suitable child fare and all those debates. So that'll just go another half hour.
So basically, to conclude, I enjoyed my time at the SmackDown show, but it's same old with the company, and they didn't do anything that makes me
certain recent events that we've already covered.
It doesn't make me run out and get tickets the next time they're in town. I wasn't gonna go unless I got them for free.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
I'm glad I went. I had a good time, but I'm not gonna run out and buy tickets when they come back.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
I'm sorry. Did you have something you wanted
No, it's fine.
You're ready to move on. I'm sure.
Well, I was gonna say that we wouldn't have bought tickets before, anyway, but anyway, no, it's fine. Go ahead.